Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be watching this video from all over the world. This video is about my country, Nigeria, and the recent electoral challenges we have had. And if you are a Nigerian or you love Nigeria, when you receive this video, please make it go viral because we cannot continue like this. I've shared these thoughts severally on different platforms, and the recent occurrences in the last elections have proved me right. I promised that I will do a series of videos on improving on the electoral process in Nigeria so that we do not disintegrate. This is very important because 5% of the total black population, the word black in quotes, is Nigerian. That is 20% of the total Negroid population is Nigerian. That is to say, 1 in every 5 black person you see, black is in quotes, is a Nigerian. And that's enormous. And if we can get it right in Nigeria, the whole of the black race will get it right. Haiti missed it when they gained independence, and France suffocated them, carried their leader away, beheaded him, buried him in France, and then they don't know where he's buried till today, and put an enormous reparation cost on Haiti. If Haiti had done well close to the United States, the black race would have done well. Let's not concentrate on their voodoo and idol worship and witchcraft. If they had done well economically, politically, the black race would have done very well. Without giving excuses, let's come back to Nigeria. Why do we have the challenges we've had in politics in Nigeria? Number 1, ethnicity. Number 2, religion. Number 3, regionalism. Ethnicity, religion, and regionalism and tribalism assassinates the intellect of the typical Nigerian. When it comes to religion, it comes to ethnicity, it comes to their region, they no longer reason normally. And so, you don't expect to have a good electoral process where people are not reasonable. And majority of the Nigerian population cannot think for themselves. They look onto patriarchs, look onto matriarchs, look onto traditional rulers, look onto religious leaders who themselves sometimes are morally bankrupt, sometimes are intellectually deficient for guidance, and therefore they will get wrong guidance. The other thing about Nigeria is that we are first interested in what we can get rather than what we can give to the nation. And so there is contention for resources, contention for offices not to serve, but to corner whatever privileges that are accruable. And therefore, only one man will want to corner a lot of power around himself. Let's take the recent Buhari tenure. He was president, he was minister for petroleum resources. Then he took somebody from the oil producing area to become his minister of state or for state of petroleum. And we can see what has happened in the petroleum industry. He took Minister of Defense from his own region, surrounded himself with people from his tribe and his region. I might not be 100% correct, but the truth of the matter is this attempt to corner power, because politics is about control. Harold Laswell defined politics as who gets what, when, how, and how much. while David Easton says it is authoritative allocation of resources. So it is control, power, authority, and then allocation of resources. For Peter Obi to have contested, people like Obasanjo and the Yoruba elite in the Afenifere said, for equity's sake, let Peter Obi from the eastern part of the country, the Igbo-speaking part, rule. But you see, in as much as that is fair, politics should not be allocation of offices based on sentiment. It should be based on capacity, should be based on competence, should be based on character, should be based on contribution to national development. Peter Obi qualifies for that, just like many other Nigerians. But you see, the violence, the pressure, the rigging, how do we now solve this? Number one, let's have a 6-man presidential council. 6-man presidential council. In Lebanon, where we have Christians, Druze, and Muslims, they practice what is called consectionalism. If the president is a Muslim, the vice president must be a Christian, and the minister for defense or of defense will be a Druze. So there is the diffusion of power from one person and the attempt to satisfy all segments of the nation. Now, if we have a 6-man presidential council from the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, let's take this scenario that just passed. We will have had Kwankwaso as a president in the council. We might have had Shetima as a president in the council. We'll have Tinubu as a president in the council. We will have had one person or the other from the South-South, either Wike, Donald Duke, Amechi, or one person in the council. I'm just naming those who are contemporary players. I'm not saying they are the best from those areas. Then, most probably, we will have had somebody from the Southeast, Peter Obi. I don't know who I will call from the North Central. Maybe let me just use Autumn as a presidential representative from the North Central or Middle Belt. The problem in Nigeria is that people do not have a sense of belonging. They don't have a sense of representation in the presidency. So when we have a 6-man presidential council, they will stay there for 12 years. There's no significant difference between 12 years and 8 years if it is turn by turn. That is, I become president and I give to the person who supported me to become president for the next 8 years. We will have spent 16 years passing Nigeria from one to the other. Let's have a 6-man presidential council. The 6-man presidential council, you will have a presidential spokesman for every 2 years. But you will share portfolios among 6 of them. So in 12 years, presidency will have rotated around all the regions. And if it goes around the regions, this ethnic and regional agitation for independence will be diffused. Number 2, the regions will bring out their best. They will bring out their best to represent them. Because Nigerians like competition, they will bring out their best to represent them. And if we reduce the cost of politics and the benefit from politics, as I said earlier on, we would have, to a large extent, made politics less attractive to those who see it as their business, as their investment. And therefore, the best will contest. So let's have 6 regional presidents who come to form a presidential council. Imagine Peter Obi, Tinubu, Kwankwaso, Shetima, somebody from the Middle Belt, somebody from South-South in a presidential council. There will be a degree of modulation in decision-making. Now, let's not have national parties. This issue of national parties leads to too much tension and division in the country. If we had regional parties in the east, regional parties in the northwest, northeast, north central, southwest, south-south, and southeast. I think I've mentioned southeast before. Let these parties not go and campaign. Don't go and campaign from the southwest in the southeast. Don't go and campaign from the southwest in the south-south. Don't go and campaign from the east in the north. No. Campaign within your area. Tell them what you will want to do for them. When you do that, and even though we will have a national electoral body, because the political hegemony has been divided, and the attempt to suffocate some units of the country or put pressure on the electoral system by some people has been diffused, they will only be able to contest in their area. And then if there is contest within their area, the best will come out from them. Because if you elect an incompetent, incapacitated person, a corrupt person, it is your region, it is your political zone that will suffer. So after 12 years, these people will leave. They don't contest again. They don't contest again. So we will have a good turnover of political leadership. Some corrupt ones will come in, they will go away until we reach a point of filtration that good leadership will come. Political evolution takes time. Now, I will suggest that we scrap the Senate. The Senate takes too much from our GDP. The Senate is where people go to for retirement and sit as if they are in drinking parlors. They stretch their bodies and make funny debates. The House of Representatives is enough. The state houses of assembly, they are enough to represent us. Our problem is not representation. Our problem is reasonable representation. The cost we will reduce from the Senate, because if just imagine somebody, he becomes a governor, then becomes a senator, stays there for 16 years, earning salary, earning 3 times the income he earned as a governor. That's a bloody waste of resources to sustain a few parasites who don't even contribute to debate. Some of them say, they don't bring any intellectual discourse into national discussion. And so I will scrap the Senate. I will reduce the salaries of the president and their allowances, and they can stay in their government lodges, their state lodges in Abuja, 6-man presidential council. Then we will change the electoral system such that independent candidates can contest. They don't need to, because the primaries remain one bottleneck where reasonable people are suppressed by the majority of stupid people who are into politics, jobless people who are into politics in this country. So, independent candidacy. The next thing I will suggest is that we will scrap state electoral commissions. Before scrapping state electoral commissions, I want to suggest that the leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission should come from the judiciary. If eventually the decisions that will either allow somebody to stay in office or out of office ends in the Supreme Court or passes through tribunals and courts to reach the Supreme Court to decide who is legitimately elected, then ab initio, let's bring people who are knowledgeable in the laws of electoral process, who can adjudicate impartially from the judiciary. Even if they misbehave, we will get them in this dispensation. Let them be appointed from by the National Judicial Council. They might not need to go and pass through the National Assembly. They might not need to pass through the National Assembly. In the United States, they don't suggest people to act as electoral commissioners or whatever. I think it's the secretaries of state. They don't select them and send to the Senate. If we can decentralize, we can take the appointment of judicial officers, electoral officers, from the executive, the control exerted on them will be reduced. Therefore, the electoral system will be better if we have the electoral officers from the judiciary. And then, as I was saying, if we scrap the state electoral commissions, because the governors exert too much pressure on the state electoral commissions, we will want the local government, the local government and the state houses of assembly to be such that they represent the people more effectively. Now let's come to the local government. If the National Electoral Commission can conduct elections for houses of assembly that represent only a few local government areas or wards in a local government area, then there should be an electoral body that is independent, not appointed by the governor, that can conduct elections into the houses of assembly, into the local government chairmanship, into the local government councils. With this, we will have more competent hands at the local government level. And with financial independence, autonomy for the local government, we will see a lot of development. Most of the things we blame state governors and blame presidents for, if they are properly handled at the local government level, apart from our traditional rulers, we can have mayors of cities who are administrators, city councils that are close to the people. So if there are complaints, it comes from the council to the cities, to the council, to the state, and then to the presidential council. This is, because of time constraint, this is my suggestion. And I believe that it will work. We will not have had this tension we had in Lagos over Igbos and Yorubas. We will not have had the tension we had in this country over electoral campaigns and that. And the cost of election would be drastically reduced, because while our politicians corrupt, they want to recoup the money they have invested into these national campaigns where they buy rappers, buy hats, and all that. Rent vehicles for people to go to Kano, to go to Warri, to go to that. If we do this, we will diffuse the tension, reduce the cost, reduce corruption, and Nigeria will be a better country. I have contributed my bit by this post. I've taken your time and your data. Please share it to as many people as possible. When Fela was talking in those days, people didn't pay attention. Please pay attention now that I'm talking. Share it. It will solve 90% of our electoral problems. We will refine it and we'll continue the discourse from this after this video. I remain your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Charles Apoki. God bless you and God bless my great country, Nigeria.